Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the experiences and memories that playing tabletop games with friends and families can create. Today, we'll be having a party talking about, is it a game or is it a social activity? Da, 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 da. But first off, we are going to start with the games we've been playing recently. I don't really have much to talk about. I've just been completely engulfed in Frosthaven, which is fun. But I mean, I've already talked about it for the last 2 episodes, so there's not a whole lot more to add. Other than I've retired my character and I'm getting ready to retire my second character.
How many characters come in that?
Oof. I think there's about 12 or 13.
It's a good number. With the three of you, that means you could retire 4 times. So.
Yep, the game is actually got broken into summer, winter, and it goes for 4 seasons, I think, that you can play before you run out of calendar events.
Is it 100 quests again?
It's 100 plus hours. There's over 100 scenarios. But it's there's a ton of content. I mean, I think we are about 30 games in, and we are into the second season. Or second year out of 4 years.
And you can drop the box on somebody. It could probably hurt them severely.
Yeah, it's heavier than the Gloomhaven. So let's continue on with what Evan has been playing.
So this past weekend, we just had CosCon, and sadly, I didn't get to run both games that I wanted. I only got to run one. But the plus side to that is that gave me more time to play board games. So I got a couple games in. I got to play a 4-player game of Fistful of Meeples. I'm not going to talk too much about that because we have a playthrough just recently onto the channel, and I think I talked about it last time we recorded. Also got to play Sidreal Confluence. So that's a 4 to 9 player game where you are running a galactic race along with everyone else running galactic race, and you are wheeling and dealing, bidding for technologies and planets and trying to run your economy and engines. It is super complicated when they are explaining the game, and then you get a turn and a half in and you go, oh, I know what I'm doing. So it was actually a lot of fun. It's one of those games that you have to have the right people to play with. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's not going to be a good time at all. But if you have a group of people that would be able to negotiate and trade and do that kind of stuff and would likes a little heavier engine building, real good game. Another one that I got to play was Jailbreak. I was very pleasantly surprised with that. It is a super simple game where you're prisoners in a jail. The jail is represented by cards out onto the table. You got 2 actions, which is moving or, doing something in a room. In order to get out of the jail, you have to get a key card, a tool, and blueprints, and then get to the room where you can actually get out. And I really, from the components, looking at it, I was like, oh, this is going to be no nothing game. It actually was a lot more fun than I really expected. And the last one that I got to play with James, but I'm going to let him talk about it because I just had a playthrough with Nathan that I think is going up probably this weekend of Beer and Bread. But with that, I'm going to kick it over to James.
Well,
actually, he's this way.
Before you jump into James, I do want to comment. You need to teach me Sidereal Confluence because I've been wanting to play that. I own it, but I haven't been wanting to read the rules.
It's actually super easy. Like I said, once you get past that little bit, because there's a lot coming at you at one time, but beyond that, it's actually fairly simple.
And Jailbreak is a different game than I thought it was. I was thinking of Lockup, I think is what I was thinking of. Jailbreak is a little game?
It's a little game. It's
a children's game.
No, it's not a children's game.
No, because you're shanking people, so that's not
children's
game.
Children's game? No, it's a game published by Game Crafters, or at least was run through them for making it. And in Jailbreak, you are a criminal who has been incarcerated, and you're trying to figure out a scheme to escape the jail, whether it's bribing the police officers, shanking your fellow inmates to gain items from, like Evan did to me repeatedly.
I shanked
He
James.
did. He
I
did.
felt good.
Uh, um, but it's a chaotic game. It's a lot of fun game. Shout out to Tim for showing us that game. I always like to have a surprise of a new game, especially if it's fun, which that one was. There was a little weird dice color issue, but he took care of that already. So he got a set of dice that all match all the players, because some of the dice colors didn't match the players, which was weird for some reason.
Yeah.
But either way, it was a fun game. The game Evan was talking about is I got to play Beer and Bread. And we did, you and Nathan did a playthrough of that one recently. And I really, really enjoyed that one. Evan let me borrow it. I'm going to be playing it with my wife. We just haven't got a chance yet because I think we're going to really like it. And I probably will pick it up. But yeah, I liked Beer and Bread a lot. I missed out on the Sidereal Confluence game because I had to run another game right after that. I was literally teaching 4 games at the same time while they were playing that. But it looked amazing. When they gave the rules out, I was like, there's no way this is going to take an hour with the amount of people you have. And it didn't. It was at least 2 to 3 hours. But it did look a lot of fun. There was a ton of players on that. There at least 8, right? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think it was 8. And well, the key thing for the game too is each round when you get into the negotiation, it's timed and it's run in real time. So, and I think it's like 13 minutes, I think is what it was. So once that timer goes off or everyone's done, you're done. And it's just all the cleanup and everything else, running your engines and all that, which that part doesn't take long. The hardest part, I think, what made us run long was that first learning how to play and then getting everybody set up and then everyone getting told this is how this race works, since they're so individual. Once we got above that and then around in that everyone felt comfortable, the game flew by really quickly.
It looks like a type of game that I would play like repeatedly and just with the same group and stuff. So that was cool. One game that I got to play at the convention, which was a wonderful 3-day convention. Well, I got to play Lords of Waterdeep. We had a whole tournament for that. I made it to the second round, but didn't win. Which is good because I was running it. That would look a little fishy. But I got to play Lords of Vegas. I've never got to play Lords of Vegas before. And that is a like dice placement game where you're buying lots in casinos or sections in casinos and you're placing dice. And each of those sections that you buy, you pick a color, and there's 4 different colors. When you flip cards each turn, if your color comes up, you get paid. Well, you can also be super mean in this game. So if you have a couple casino pieces and you want to merge with another player, you can change the color of your casino places to match that player's color. And the person with the highest die number becomes the boss. So that person collects all the money for every single square, which is decent because whenever those things flip, you count the pip value of every single piece, even if they're not yours, as long as they're all connected. So that gets people into like gambling, where they're going to want to re-roll those dice to try to see if they can get their die higher. You could also get punished for having these casinos by having someone gamble at your casino. And when they gamble at the casino, there's a high odds that they're going to win. So they'll be taking money from you. And they can bet $5 million per space in that casino. So if you have a huge, big casino, they could pretty much drain you. And if there's 2 numbers they roll, they could double their bet, whatever they bet, so they can win a ton. So there's a lot of cool interaction. There's a lot of cool things to think of in the game. And the game doesn't take very long to play, about 60 to maybe 90 minutes. And it was very easy to teach. So I did enjoy that game a lot. I think that one sold at like Target and Walmart, so I might pick it up at one of those. Just, it's not a high production value game, but it's a fun game. You even have paper money in it. So I'll probably change this out with poker chips because that would make more sense. But yeah, I really like Lords of Vegas. We played tons of other games, but those are the ones that really stood out to me. Other games I played were games I played before. Only other one that I wanted to shout out with was going to be Hellboy the board game. So Hellboy the board game was a surprise to me. It was a very fun, well-designed, I guess you would call it dungeon crawl game. I'm not really into the Hellboy IP at all, nor do I know much about it. I think I watched one of the movies, maybe two of them, and I read maybe a comic, single one at one point. But it looks like it matches. Didn't care about that part. What's really cool is the mechanics in the game. You roll 3 dice for whatever stat you have, and there's 4 different levels of those dice, and you can simply upgrade and downgrade those dice. So monsters will downgrade it, you can upgrade it and get better chances of hitting. Super simple system throughout, and it comes with 6 missions that are not connected, so you can play them at any time or any way. So yeah, I really liked it. It was cool. Miniatures are neat in it. It was a really nice take on the dungeon crawls. That's it for me.
Well, sounds like you got a lot of cool things played. So I guess that takes us on to our subject of, is it a game?
If
So-
it says party, it's not.
So yeah, I mean, party is the obvious thing, and we probably should start with that. So we can talk about games like Apples to Apples, or any of those, that genre games where basically somebody's picking a card, everybody's picking a card that they think matches it, and then there's a judge. Dixit does the same thing, and I know James doesn't want to talk about Dixit no matter what. It's like, but I think we should talk about Dixit just to make James angry. So, what's your thought about that kind of a, just a judge-based party game? Is there actually a game to that kind of game, or is it just a social activity?
Well, Dixit, well, I'll go first, I guess. Dixit, Apples to Apples, Cards Against Humanity, Trust Me I'm a Hero, or Trust Me I'm a Doctor, or whatever. Just insert something in there. Or Balderdash, same way. Anytime you have a human judge in a game, it's just a social activity to me. It's a structured social activity, which is really good because that'll get conversations going. You'll get to know people a little bit better, whatnot. But unless it's Dixit, it's just total horribleness. But when you have a human judge involved, I think there's still, you could make an argument for strategy, but it's really just like a social experiment or social experience. Where you're playing with the other players and you're really having just a conversation going and trying. Yeah, I mean, it's above the game. It's beyond the game. So the game itself is too simple to be a game. So it's mainly just the conversation. What do you think, Evan?
So I agreed to parts of that. For people like us, and by us I mean people that we play board games extensively, have collections of games, and play numerous upon numerous of games.
Nathan doesn't have any games.
One or two. That's just a Zoom background, people. It's not real. He found it on Google. For people like us, is it really a game at that point? And no, it's not, because I mean, look at all the other things that we play, and that's what you would more classify to a game to us. Is it a game to someone that their collection is Monopoly and Clue, and that's the extent of what they play? Someone that we would classify as a low entry level person, it would be. So I think to define it, is it a game or is it not a game? It all depends on who you are. Depends on your level of experience into board games. And I think that's where you have to watch the definition of, should we call it a game or not?
So
go ahead.
I somewhat agree with that. But one of the things we do have to be careful is just by defining whether it's a social activity or a game, we're not saying it's good or bad. I mean, there's
Oh,
nothing
Dixit's
wrong.
bad.
Well, James will define that.
There's nothing wrong with enjoying these games or activities, whatever you want to call it. It's just, I think for the judge-based ones is a little bit more clear cut because yes, there is a game mechanic of scoring and all that, but generally when you play these, you generally ignore the scoring, especially like you might start off scoring, but in most games, almost every game I've played, nobody pays any attention to the scoring, and they're just doing the social activity of it.
I always pay attention to the scoring because I want it to end. But I'll make a counterpoint argument on there. It's not really a counterpoint argument, but it's like my basis. So it actually, like, I guess, degrades my argument. So if you have a game where you have no player agency, like you don't literally do anything, that's not a game. So if you play Sorry, you're not actually doing anything. You're hitting the bubble in the middle to roll, get a number, and you're moving your thing. It can only go one direction. You do have a slight choice on which piece you move. That's really not enough to actually be a game. Literally, you don't need to be there. Chutes and Ladders is an example of 100% you don't need to be there. You're literally just rolling and move. Like you don't need a person to do anything. There's no decisions. You're just lucky or you're not. So when you get to ones that have judges in there, you start getting into like the smallest level, I would say, of getting into like a game where you have some strategy that you can actually employ and do. I think it needs to go a little further. Like if you look at Mysterium is a great example of a game that works in the same sort of idea. You do have, let's say, a judge, which is the ghost, who is just trying to get you to guess what their clue is, or what their scene is, by putting out cards and stuff. So it's sort of like reverse, but that's more like you actually have to think ahead. You have to do things and put them out there. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make a sense, and it kind of almost got to a point that I was thinking of, where in the judge-based games, it's healthier and more productive and more entertaining if you treat it as a social activity. Because once you treat it as a game and you start using strategy, some of those strategies that you would want to use is essentially cheating. So this guy's winning. So even though by right, if you're playing the game the way you're supposed to, you should vote for, the funniest one. You're voting for the one to make sure that person that who's winning isn't winning.
Yeah, I know that's actually where it breaks down. I think when you have humans involved and you don't have more of the strategy offloaded into the game itself, you run into that.
So where I like to that point, with the straight judging games, you have like stuff like Cards Against Humanity, like where it's everyone plays a card and one person just picks. Okay, great. Repeat. When you add just a little bit, it just needs a little bit more to be more of a game. And that's where I like one of my favorite ones in there, and I've talked about a few times, Ransom Notes. Like you actually have to build something. Another one of their titles, Puns of Anarchy, same way. You're taking tiles and you have to change and create something else. That takes it into a step of more in a good way.
Yeah. So now that we got past the shelves at Walmart and Target, well, Target might be a little better. Oh, let's go into
Dixon Forever.
Let's go into the little upper shelves at those places. And so that's just one of the big, I guess, party style games, or is it a game thing? The other one's going to be straight up social deduction. So that's going to be your werewolf, your resistance, your Avalon, all that sort of thing, where basically you're going to be given a card that's going to be your role, and there'll be different game rules. Maybe things will get switched around. They all have their own abilities or whatever. But you have to deduce, based on how people are acting, what they are to be able to win the game. So that is definitely a very social game. That's why they're called social deduction. And the emphasis is obviously on the social deduction portion of it. So the question is, if the game is dependent on the group of people and how they interact with each other, is it still a game, or is it just a deck of cards or whatever, or deck of tiles that people just, use as a talking point for a game?
So when you're talking about like werewolves and all those, I don't care for those because it's just a eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Nope. Okay.
Yeah, it's more like the fun part, like, oh, he's the werewolf, obviously. I'm like, oh, okay.
So those ones I've never cared for because it's just not much of, and people go crazy for those games, and I'm not one of those people. Where what I like is, and again, into the last point I made, is when you use that concept and take it that one step more. Tortuga 1667 is an example of that, but more. So everyone's either British or French, but you can figure out who's on your team or not on your team. You have a goal of getting the most gold onto your side of the ships and on the island. So is it going to help you to figure it out? Absolutely. And it's still a social deduction because you can't just flat out say, well, I'm British, you can't do that. So you still have to deduce that, but you have a goal on top of that the game is going to work with. And that's, I think, where it's a little bit better. It makes it more than just like, you're the werewolf. Oh no, I'm wrong. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm same. What about you, Nathan?
So, yeah, and I actually feel like this also gets into your point of like with Sorry, where werewolf is more abstracted, but essentially the game is telling you what to do. At night, if you're a werewolf, you have to kill somebody. Who you kill really doesn't matter as far as the game is concerned.
Yeah.
And the game itself actually doesn't give you any help to figure out who the werewolves are, unless you have special roles, really. But for the most part, the base game, it's all your deductions is based on social. It's based on the person. The game itself is not giving you any of that. It's just telling you need to do this. Now, talk to each other.
I think where I can't know if it's a base game or not. I think there's an oracle or something that can look, and then but you kill that person.
Yeah, well, it's one of the optional rules. Yeah,
and they can and someone can swap the werewolf, like make you pass cards, too. Yeah, but I can't remember. It's been a long time. I really like Mafia and that are just nah.
Now, one that I like too. That's into that vein. But when you put into almost a narrative style with it, that's where that can actually work. But not like a narrative werewolf. Oh, somebody's a werewolf, and you go through. When you actually can able to tell a story with it, then that style really works really well. And an example of that does it greatly is Deception, Murder in Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Yeah, so with somebody being the murderer, and then you have the forensic scientist trying to navigate everyone else that is working this murder without being able to talk and only giving very slight clues, and then trying to have them interpretate, what's going on in your brain based off of what they're showing you. I think that's a good narrative way of taking that, and that turns it into a really good game.
And when can you play a game where you get killed by radioactive underwear?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because one of the other examples I like the reverse of is Just One. So Just One, instead of a judge, everyone's cooperatively working together to try to get as many of these clues as possible. And Just One player doesn't know what the word is, and all the other players have to write down words on their cards to try to get them to guess. Can't see what the word is. They show that to each other, and any duplicates are removed, and then they have to reveal that, and the person has to guess what it is. So I really like that game. That's one of the few party games that I like, but it's sort of reverse apples to apples.
So one game that does basically what Werewolf does, but adds a bears element of a game mechanic, is Secret Hitler.
Or Avalon. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for Secret Hitler, I don't remember Avalon enough to know if it does the same thing, but Secret Hitler, you basically draw cards and you have to pick a card to vote on one side or the other, the fascist side and obviously if you're fascist, you want to go for the fascist side, but you may not actually have a choice based on the cards you draw, or you may want to actually vote for the wrong side just to throw people off. So you actually have a choice there in theory. So there's just a very minimal amount of a game, and I think it makes it significantly better.
Yeah, Avalon Resistance, or I can't remember what the other one is, are all similar to that. They're all in the same area, just like Werewolf and Mafia are. This one though, Avalon, you have structured rules on how you have to vote, whether you can lie or not, and when. So that lets you actually deduce who it is really in the game. Still don't like it, but I think you might like Avalon if you liked Secret Hitler.
Secret Hitler was one I liked enough to play it a couple times. I would not necessarily go out of my way to play. I did not like what is the one that actually Avalon was pre-Avalon?
That's Resistance.
Okay,
Avalon's based on Resistance.
Okay, I did not like Resistance, but
that's a dystopia future where you have the rebels and whatevers.
So if we're done with that one, we can go on to the next category.
Ooh, Terraforming Mars Ares behind you.
Oh yeah. I guess there's a new expansion coming out soon.
That was the Kickstarter one, I believe, right?
Oh yeah.
So
anyways, so the next category I wanted to bring up was storytelling games. So there's a lot of these. The one I do particularly like is Gloom. It has some game mechanics of it where you're actually in it. You have a family. You're trying to make them unhappy by playing transparent cards, and you can pile those up and then eventually kill off your family members while they're unhappy as possible. But the core of the game is using the cards that you're playing to prompt you to tell a story about what is happening to your family. And where you go with that can get crazy and dark or silly. And it is fun. But yeah, there's not a huge amount of game to it. As I said, the bulk of it is telling that story.
You can still play that game without telling a story at all. So True. Just in that, you have a strategy on like who you're going to buff up, make them happy to prevent their family members from dying, and sort of Munchkin style, because you're going to run out of these cards, prevent people from winning. So there's that Munchkin problem if you just play it straight, where first person to get close to winning is going to get trashed with making their people, I guess, happy, which doesn't make sense. But yes, you're trying to cheer up the other players' family members so they don't off themselves. Once that player runs out of family members, they win.
So that is a really good point. I feel it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of these it's not true for all storytelling games, but in this one in particular, you could play it without telling the stories. It's more fun if you tell the stories, but it's playable.
And there's plenty. I can't think of any off the top of my head though, but there's plenty of games that are just Rory Story Cubes. There we go. Rory Story Cubes. There's literally no game to that. You just roll cubes and you make up a story as you pick cubes with pictures on them. So it's like a structured, a little bit of a help for campfire stories, sort of the idea. So that's a straight up storytelling game. It's not a game. I don't even think they market it as a game. It's just an activity to do with kids. And it helps them use their imagination because they have something to go off of. So you start a story and they're like, how does this fish get into it? And they're like, oh, well, the fish came out of the water and slapped him in the face 5 times. Okay, well, then what happened?
So since Peter's not here, we can say D&D and RPGs.
Well, D&D, I don't think very many people would argue that D&D is more to the storytelling part than the actual game. The point of D&D, Peter would be the expert on this, but the point of the RPG is to have a social experience with a group of people with a theme and structure. So it's more in the storytelling than it is in I think you should have got a +1 because of blah blah blah. I mean, it can be, but I don't think it is most of the time. Most of it's about the story.
Well, yeah, I think the big point of it is the game mechanics are there, but the whole idea is if the game mechanics get in the way of the story, disregard the game mechanics.
I think that happens most often. Also, it's the majority, 90% of it's storytelling anyway. There's zero game there without something made up on top of it. So you have to make up something to make it work. So it's a lot of work on the GM. The GM is actually making it up as they go. So I guess you could say the GM is making the game, not the books. But yeah, Peter says he agrees with me because he's not here and he can't defend himself. So, boom.
So let me ask you this question then. So another vein of party-esque style games that we could talk about being activity or not game, but escape room style games such as Unlock or Escape Room in a Box.
Those are definitely, I mean, so if you go to escape room, they're not going to be like, this is a board game. They're going to be like, this is just a fun social experience where you try to figure out how to escape. So translating that into a deck of cards doesn't suddenly make it a board game. It's still an escape room. You just don't have a physical room. And it's not like in most concept of a board game is something you can play over and over again. Escape rooms, you can't. Now, it's not 100%. There's some, I guess exceptions to that, like legacy games. You're not going to be playing over that level of legacy game anymore because you just ripped up all the pieces.
Or if your memory is terrible, you can play it again, 6 months later.
And you're fine. But I don't know. I could see where people could try to argue it, and they may be correct, but I don't think escape rooms are games like traditional board games.
So I think if there's a line to be run, these style of games are right on that, like to a T. And you can fit like the Unlock games, choose your own adventure style games like House of Danger, or any number of those style of games are really running that line of which way would you really want to call it.
Yeah, would you consider a choose your own adventure book a board game? No.
Well, if you apply the player agency logic to it too, it's a little flimsy as well, because really you have one correct answer. You're just trying to get to that answer. You don't have any alternatives. You're not making choices per se. You're just figuring out how to get to that answer, which in itself, I mean, that puzzle element is what, that's great, but mechanically you don't have choices.
Well, and a lot of those style games too, it's more than just like, choosing the path to go. But yeah, I mean, there is also, collection aspects. Well, I need certain things that I'm going to get along the way to complete X, Y, and Z later on.
Some of them, yeah, like you have the hammer, like that. I have the one to unlock. You have the hammer. What do you do? I'm gonna just break the glass. I'm gonna hit the cabinet, and that was viable. You're like, yeah, you got something. I'm like, oh, okay. Or I'm gonna shoot the rat out of the cannon. Who would think to do that?
I would say this is definitely, you're right. This is probably the grayest of the categories we talked about. It's like, it could go either way.
Unless you're James.
I'm not happy with either
I'm
side.
ruling no. No, Judge James.
And then, but actually, even as a social activity, a lot of times that breaks down too, and it's more individual activity. When that actually can be a distinction between a real escape room and a card-based one. You definitely have more of the social activity in a real escape room, potentially.
Well, so I'm going to bring up another game here that kind of falls into a couple categories here. And I want to hear Nathan talk about this because it is a game that I know he absolutely loves. He can't wait to get the sequel. It is Stratego. He absolutely loves. Can't wait till the next one comes out. I'm starting a playthrough of it here very soon. The King's Dilemma.
Yep.
Okay. So there is so much negotiation, talking, card driven based, very small board that has very minimal changing in it as rounds go, but it does change. Why don't you talk about that, Nathan? How does that fall into this?
So that was actually a big part of the prompt for for this discussion, and it was actually the next thing I was going to talk about anyways. It is, yeah, primarily negotiation. You're basically giving a 50-50 choice by these cards, and everybody has their own agendas to further their family, and you're voting on the outcome of these cards based on what your family would want. So in the sense, there's the bears element of a game in that you have goals and you have things that you get for accomplishing those goals, and you have things you get for the results of the votes. However, 90% of the game, 90% of the game is that discussion and debate, and the game prompting you to have social activity. So yes, there is the bearish element of a game, but it prompts for that great social activity. But I think it becomes a really good game in that by having just enough actual mechanics.
Well, and I think that's when we talked about that, when I asked you about that, and you gave me the run through for it and doing the look. I think what really sold me on that was it is a social negotiation game with the touch of board game that when you put it all together, just that little bit of game makes it a whole lot of game.
Get your peanut butter out of my chocolate.
Well, the other thing that makes it really strong, that's really a bit off topic, is it tells a really interesting story through, like, incremental, because every decision you make actually has an impact and can completely change the divergent stories. You're constantly changing. It never feels like no matter what decision you made, you're going to end up at that same point. No, the end seemed like it'd be completely different.
Yeah, and from what I see, when you think you choose good, well, bad stuff still can happen. And likewise, when you choose bad, good stuff can happen.
Yeah, you don't know what else is happening in the background.
I just can't wait to start, and I'm going to kick all the Jameses out of my country. And
James is out of your country. I see how it is. So
I wouldn't be surprised if it had a card like that.
It is decreed.
Yeah, I think aren't they making a sequel to that? Or
Queen's Dilemma. I did back it on Kickstarter.
Okay, cool. So
it's this December-ish.
But yeah. So is there any other ones you want to discuss, or any other things you want to discuss as potential games before we get into ones that you actually like in these area?
Oh, I've been talking about games I like, but
I'm sorry. I thought you were just talking about garbage the entire time. I
don't want to upset James.
Okay.
Well,
so let's see what what's happening.
Well, I got a question here.
Yeah.
How many players do you need to make it a party game?
2. It's a party of 2.
Party of 1.
I guess a solo game. That's a party. I don't know. I don't think that matters.
You can have a solo social experience, can't you?
No.
I mean, if you have multiple personalities.
Okay, so I'm all set.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I don't think you can have a solo party game, but I think 2 people could play a party game. There's a lot of them that can handle that. Like Wits and Wagers. 2 people could. No, 2 people can't. I think you need 3 people minimal on Wits and Wagers. But I can play 3 to 1 million. So.
I think 3 is kind of a lot.
What's that?
It's just about a matter of how sad is your party.
There. Well, it is what it is. But even the games they consider party games, none of them don't have that high of a player count. Most of them cap out at 8 or 6. And if you're talking about like party, you need like something you can play with hundreds. And there's games like that you can play with hundreds of people, or separate them into groups and all play simultaneously.
So I know another game that James really hates.
Okay.
That, despite being a party game, actually has a fair amount of game mechanics.
Lies.
And that's Magic Maze.
Oh, that game's horrible.
So in Magic Maze,
I still have dents on my table from my daughter just being like, "No, what are you doing?"
Magic Maze, each person gets a direction they can travel, or basically something they can do to affect the characters, and you're trying to get around this mall to get to certain points, unveiling the map as you go, and you can't communicate. Basically, only one person can interact with the piece at a time, and they can only do their one action the entire game. So you have the only way you have to communicate that you need to do your action so I can do mine is get a little dowel that you bang on the table to get their attention. Hopefully not denting the table.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that falls in the same. It's better than the mind. The mind is not. The mind is just. I don't know what the heck. That one you just try to get sequential numbers somehow. By ESP or whatever they call that, to read the other person's mind. And because they reskinned it and didn't change things, you have shurikens or whatever you can throw to help you out. Because I think it was supposed to be originally a ninja theme, but it didn't end up having that. So, what's other games that have?
Well,
no
I wouldn't just say
communication?
on that. The one thing that I think that would qualify as a game is the fact that it's campaign, and every session you're adding a new rule, and it grows and grows as you go, and each session's like a couple minutes. But so once you get further in and get in the advanced quest, you have lots of different mechanics that you're dealing with.
Oh,
like,
for
okay,
Magic
you can-
Maze,
Yeah, you
where you're
can
robbing a shopping mall.
like you have certain locations you can get to, and you can briefly talk, and then you can go on, or you have places you can teleport, and all sorts of different things, special powers.
Well, speaking about games that the rules build up and change, another one of James' favorites is Flux, and he absolutely loves playing that game all the time. You should have saw his eyes, people, at CosCon when the Flux came out. He got as giddy as a schoolgirl and ran over to that table.
I'm pretty sure it was the exact opposite. I'm like, hey, you want to play Flux? I know the people that play it. We'll go get them, and they'll love to play it. Flux is super random. The game can take one turn or forever. You have to meet the goal cards and have keepers out to meet them, but you can do different things to get rid of the keepers. You can switch the goals. You can change the rules to the game. My favorite one is get it down to draw one, play one. Just keep wiping it down to draw one, play one. Because you're just like, oh my gosh. But yeah.
Yeah, the rules for that, I mean, really exist on a card or two that are out. It's more of you're sitting around, you're sitting there talking to the other people the entire time, more so than playing. And if you really want to get James fired up, let him play Math Flux with you.
I think most people, I don't know most people, but I mean, Math Flux is horrible. Just because, like, you have people out there and they're like, if I divide by this and that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's you just do this. I'm like, but I never get the cards to meet the goal. I'm like, oh, Math Flux is so horrible. They also have Drinking Flux where you have to drink while you play it.
That actually makes it palatable.
Maybe. But they have a Flux of pretty much any theme that you could ever think of. So if there's a specific IP that you like, chances are there's a Flux version. And if you want to try Flux, that's probably the best way to get in, because I think they're all exactly the same price. So
yeah, and if there is a theme you really like, that's really the only way to make it really enjoyable is have a really interesting theme, a theme that you love, and you can talk more as much about the theme and role play a little bit the characters and just get silly with it. The
And
game itself is not great.
my favorite Flux is actually, the Marvel IP is fine. I like it just fine. It's not my favorite IP. I don't have very many Marvel games, maybe one or two. But I really like, so there's keepers, creepers, and goals in the game. And most of the time when you put down a keeper, they do nothing. They're just something there that you're trying to meet a goal with. But in Flux Marvel, all those keepers do things and interact with each other. So I thought that was really cool. That's my favorite one. Now, while I play it, if I don't have anything else to play and that's the only thing we got, yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. So I have another one that's borderline party game. And definitely has social elements, even though you're not allowed to talk. That's The Crew.
Oh, Crew's 100% a game. It's trick-taking games. There's a lot of strategy in those.
This is definitely much stronger on the game mechanics than any other of these party games. But I'd still consider it borderline party. Basically, the idea is you're doing a trick-taking game. You're not allowed to talk, but you're trying to cooperatively make sure certain people take certain tricks.
The other thing, too, I make another argument, because it's a trick-taking game and you deal out every single card, as the game goes by, without them even communicating, you pretty much know what cards they probably have. So, because it's no replacement, you're going to be putting out those cards, they're going to be going away, and you're going to be like, well, I know that there's these numbers left of I forgot the colors. This color. And I know, or there's only 4 black trump. I know 2 of the black trump comes out, so I know I don't have it. And I know the way their other players are playing, that these person probably doesn't have it. So I know that the other 2 people either have the 3 and the 4 or both. Well, you know who has the 4 because it's the commander. But I don't know. I think that one is a game and there's a lot of strategy to it, just because of the limited pool that you have available to you and what you're trying to do.
So I think that one's kind of the inverse of what I mentioned way earlier in the game. And it all depends on the people that you're playing with. So if you play like us, who play a lot of games, it's definitely a game because we put a lot of that way higher level thinking into the game. But if you have people that have barely played trick taking and are just kind of like I played a couple hands of hearts and that's my experience, it's more onto now the social of it. I'm playing it to do that.
I think if you played hearts, you're going to be pretty good at The Crew. But yeah,
I'm flattered that you consider us high level thinkers, though.
Just me. No kidding.
I was looking at Nathan when I said that.
Oh, now I'm wounded.
Yeah,
I tell you.
I mean, that could almost. I get what you're trying to say. It can sound a little bit derisive, but I know that's not what you meant. It's just the idea that we have, with a background of having played a lot of games, we can take things we've learned from other games and apply them.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of dum-dums. That's what we're saying.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but
my meeples taste like wood.
You should see me when I was trying to teach Libertalia. I played it. I taught it like the old Libertalia instead of the new Libertalia, so half the rules were wrong. I'm like, oh my gosh. And the game is super simple, and it's super similar, but there was like just a couple things that were pretty different. And I was like, oh no, I just messed up this teach.
Okay. So I think that pretty much wraps up the discussion. I think the main takeaway with this is, whether it's a game or not, if you're interested in this game, most of us will play it. James will hate you, though.
Well, I mean, let's just end it with, what is one game in this genre that you love?
Well, we already talked about mine, The King's Dilemma.
All right, King's Dilemma. How about you, Evan?
Deception, Murder in Hong Kong is probably my favorite.
Yeah, Deception and Murder in Hong Kong is amazing. I like just one. That's my least game that I love. So I don't know why. It's just fun.
Okay, so for the silly game today, I am revisiting a game that I presented once before, and the concept of this game is I give you a close-up image of a game or something game related, and you can either guess what it is or pass. If you pass, the other person just has to try to guess from that image. If everybody passes, we go to the next image that's slightly further away. If you guess and you're wrong, the next person gets to guess on the next image as well.
Okay.
So the example is this one. Well, actually, we could probably just start, and I'll start with Evan since he
Come on.
played before.
Come on.
Okay, so Evan, do you know what this image is? Or do you want to pass?
Well, it kind of looks like a zoomed in version of our logo, but I don't think that's correct, so I'm going to pass.
It is a zoomed in version of our logo.
You have to be more specific.
The TGG logo that's right behind Evan.
You have to be more specific.
What do you mean more specific?
It's a specific item.
Oh, it's the shirt.
Nope. Okay, so you guessed wrong. Evan gets the zoomed out image.
So that's the T. There's the G. There's the meeple right above it, right there, currently on Nathan's chest.
So it's not that.
I mean, it is our logo, but on what? This was kind of like a throw in. It wasn't really a serious one, but I thought you guys would get it right away.
On what?
What? It's not the shirt.
I think we need to give up on this one. Do you want to pass?
What else do we have this on?
It's definitely
It's
cloth
wild,
of
though.
some sort.
Yeah, it looks canvasy.
Yeah. Nathan might have just printed a bunch of stuff to be like, aha, it's the TGG drapes.
I guess I could give another hint.
Okay.
We didn't create this. Somebody else created it for us.
Oh, is that the TGG mat?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we're not gonna count that. That was kind of like that. Really, I had to give so many hints, and I thought that'd be an easy one.
Yeah, that's a.
I didn't even know we had a mat.
Yeah, that we a gentleman sent us out player mats. They were really, really cool. I have a couple. Might have an extra one if you want, Evan.
Well, yeah.
All right, there we go.
Okay. We'll start with the next one, and this will be the first one that counts, and I'll start with James because I think Evan might actually. This one, Evan will probably know.
51st State.
You are wrong, so I give Evan the next image.
Still don't know.
Evan, do you know what this is?
That card should give it away, but I don't know what that game is.
No, I actually don't know what this one is.
There's keys. What is keys?
So do you want to pass?
Some table with a dude with a ring and keys.
I'm going to pass.
Okay, so James, it's back to you. Do you want to try to guess what it is from this image?
I'm pretty sure I've never played this game.
That's possible.
So
We've talked about it though.
What? Oh my! What? Oh, is it King's Dilemma?
It is not. So I go to the next image, the last image for Evan. Might have been John that talked about this game.
Yeah, I've never played this. I have no idea what this game is.
Oh, so it must have been John that talked about this game.
I'm going to guess at this point because I can't lose out. Is this My Bloody Inn?
Close enough. The Bloody Inn.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I definitely never played that game. Good job, Evan.
Yeah, I never played it.
So 1 point for Evan.
Evan, the ruler.
So Evan got that one. We'll just continue on with James.
I do good in our silly games. I lose in most of our playthroughs, so I'm going to take this.
Yeah, I take your win. Just take it.
So, James, this is your image.
Is this another game I've never played?
These are the slightly more obscure. Well, they're not obscure, but
Well,
the
that's
ones I wasn't sure if all of you guys have played or not. But
is
you
that Through the
should have heard.
Desert?
It is.
Yeah, because the camels. It's Through the Desert with the camels.
So the next image
Yeah.
would have been this one, and the giveaway would should have been this one.
That's a pretty neat game.
I would have never guessed that. I've never played. Nope.
It's a pretty fun game. I think you like it. It's pretty abstract too, though. So, but yeah.
Okay, so we'll go for a couple easy ones next.
So
We're
it goes to Evan.
tied,
You're like,
and
here's
Evan,
an easy one, Evan. Yeah.
I'll give two easy ones in a row.
Okay, we'll go to that. We'll see.
So that's your image, Evan.
That's a big marker with a big 2 on it. That's upside down.
I mean, how am I supposed to get it, Nathan, when the components are upside down?
Yeah, that's just crazy sauce.
The question is, do you want to guess or pass? If you
Oh,
guess,
I'm passing.
you make it easier.
So that's a placement marker. What has placement markers like that? Oh, did I get a whiteout view of it?
Only if you guessed it wrong. Otherwise, you have to guess with this one. If you both pass, Evan then gets a chance at the slightly wider view.
I think those are chunky discs in there. I think I may know what this game is, but I can't think of it. I gotta pass, so you can give Evan the better look.
Okay, Evan.
Okay, I have not played this game.
I picked great games then.
Because you're trading steel in for oil, ×2 for 4 monies. I'm
gonna guess.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to guess Gutenberg.
You are guessing wrong.
Gutenberg.
James can now guess with this one.
Oh gosh, there's a top hat now, so it's definitely.
It's a really popular game. You guys should know this one.
You know what? Age of Steam? I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I've never played that game yet either.
Evan, Evan gets one more try at this level.
Yeah.
It's a railroad game of some sort. Canals.
It's also probably pretty small on your screen, isn't it?
No, it's pretty large.
I got nothing.
I got nothing. What is it?
This is Furnace.
Oh my gosh, I haven't played Furnace.
Never played
Why
it.
not?
You're the
It's a
only one with a
simple
copy
game.
of Furnace, I think. And I have to spend 2 days to drive to you to play it.
Okay, so then the next one we'll go to.
It does look pretty
With-
cool, though.
That was supposed to be one of the easy ones. James,
Easy for who, Nathan?
It's gonna get easier.
Okay, pandemic.
That's your image, James.
Oh my gosh.
Remember, this is supposed to be easier.
So this is a grids of some sort. I'm gonna go Scythe.
It is Scythe.
The art tipped me off as soon as I saw the logs on the side. I'm like, that looks like Scythe art.
And the next image would have been this one.
Yeah, that's 100% Scythe there.
And the final image would have been there.
Yeah, that was easy.
Okay, so easy one for James. So I'll do an easy one for Evan.
So it's 2-1 right now.
Yes,
Oh my
2-1.
gosh, Evan. You don't get this. I will slap you. Digital slap. Digital slap. Actually, I don't know that you've played this. I talked to you. I told you you'd like it. It's in the same line as it's light like I don't want to say the name of the game now. I'm gonna keep getting stuck in my head. Yeah, it's a lighter game. There's really cool tiles that you place out in it.
You're giving you so many hints.
I don't think I've ever played this.
You haven't, I don't think, but I recommended you too because of Sagrada.
Is it Azul?
Yes,
It is Azul.
The tiles are really cool. Like if you, that's a scoring track on the top. But if you look out here, where he took a picture in the outside portions here, Those discs are where you put the tiles, and you're basically drafting those tiles and putting like one color on your board, and the rest go in the middle. And someone can pull from the middle too. But you're trying to make certain patterns occur across these rows. It's neat. It's a really cool game. I think you'll like it. Really great 2-player game.
So we're at 2-2.
I sabotaged myself on that.
Oh yeah, you helped a lot with that one. So Evan guessed that one. So the next one will go to James. Which one should I give to James? Okay, I will give James this one.
Oh, that's Libertalia Wings of the Gale Crest.
It absolutely is. That was maybe too easy, but
yeah. That's the one I messed up the rules teach on, because in this version, you go lowest to highest for resolving the bottom portion, but when for getting the loot, it goes back again in the sunset to pick the loot. So that makes it a little bit different than the original Talia. Plus, I also like how they did the reputation. So instead of having numbers on the card to deal with ties, you actually have your reputation track to deal with ties. Cool game. Jamie Stegmaier, Stonemaier Games did a really good job on re-implementing this and getting it reprinted, because it definitely needed reprinted. Not sure if I care about the art though so much.
So Evan, your next one is another super easy one.
Oh my gosh, Evan.
Is that Wingspan?
It is Wingspan. Okay, so we'll jump to James.
Oh dear Lord, old people.
There's one more after this that probably none of you will get. So hopefully you win this one, because you're tied right now.
Don't know that I played this game.
I think you have.
Have I?
I think so.
I would remember old people in the corner. I'll pass. See if Evan can win now.
I'm gonna pass on that.
Okay, so James, we come back to you with a slightly wider view of it.
What?
Evan
That looks
knows what it is.
like. I got it.
Okay, wait. Okay, wait. Wait. This is a game we played, I think. Letters to Whitechapel?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I don't remember the old dudes in the corner.
That's why I chose that picture.
Okay.
And that's the final picture.
Yeah, Letters to Whitechapel. It's a
Okay.
pretty fun hidden deduction game.
Sorry, Evan, but the last one's a challenging one. If you get this, you can tie it up.
Well, I mean, if you just send it to me in Discord real quick, I'll get it for sure.
I don't think either of you've played it, but you've definitely heard of it, at least.
It's that beach-themed one that...
Hey, don't give him hits. It's Evan's.
Yeah, it reminds me of a Final Fantasy game. I'm trying to remember what the heck the name of the game is. I know what it is.
I have no idea.
It's Tidal Blades.
It is Tidal Blades.
Never played the game, but the art, like, zoom out on the art. The art on this game is amazing. I don't remember which one was like beach themed. Was it? I can't remember if it was Final Fantasy 12.
Oh, that was 10.
10. Oh yeah, 10 and 10 too. Really reminds me of that video game a lot. And the miniatures are really cool. Had really great production value. I got to play the Banner Festival, which is not this game. It's just like you're just playing a little festival and trying to rack up points. It's pretty fun, but I always wanted to play this one. Did you like this game, Nathan?
It was quite good. It was one of those Kickstarters that it felt a little big for the game, but it was actually
That normally what happens, yeah. But yeah, I never played the game, but I remember the art because the art I like the art so much. And he doesn't even have that's not even the best board on there either. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, it also You can't see it's up in the corner up here. You can barely see it. You got the little squishy.
Oh, that's why I like Banner Festival for most. Did you end up with Banner Festival, Evan?
No.
Who did I give Banner Festival to? Do I still have Banner Festival? What day is today? I can't remember if I still have Banner Festival. I like the game. I played it out. It's a little bit of an area control sort of. It's interesting. It's a fun game, and I love the squishy berries, like in Everdale. I like those squishy berries too.
So yeah, that was the game. James clearly won. He pulled ahead at the very end with a double 2 in the row. I mean, those were not necessarily as popular games as the ones we showed in our previous episode, but I had to make it more challenging with James here.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. So just to mention again, Alien Frontiers. Super love that game. I'm definitely going to do a playthrough with you guys at some point because it's really, really easy to teach. Nathan already knows how to play it. I don't think they really changed anything in this version, but I haven't played the older version, so keep that in mind. But it doesn't play very long either, like 60 minutes maybe. And I think Evan will like it a lot, so watch out for
I'll
that.
play it.
Description down below if you're interested in the game. 10% off coupon, $10 off coupon for the game. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode of us complaining about social deduction games and playing a fun game here at the end. And y'all have a good night.